Hello! Welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing a book review of The Enemy by Charlie Higson. So I don't actually have The Enemy book because it's a library book. As you can see, I'm reading these from the library, and it was checked out when I went back to get it to do this review. So I have the second one. This is The Dead. I haven't started reading it yet, but I'll keep this up here just to remind you. This is also an Isinglass Teen Read Award nominee for 2012-2013. So in case you were wondering what that said. The Enemy is basically about kids during the zombie apocalypse. I know that's really simplifying things, but I think that's the best way to describe it. So in this world, there are zombies, but they don't ever get called zombies, and they're technically not zombies as you would think, because they're not the living dead. They don't die and then come back to life. When this started, everyone 16 and older got a disease, and this is a disease that made you crave human flesh, and you get boils on your skin and you start to kind of decompose. So it's basically zombies, except for they don't come back to life, they just get sick. I love zombie stories where they don't call them zombies. Like in The Walking Dead, they call them walkers or geeks, or they call them a bunch of different things, but they're not zombies in The Enemy. They call them grown-ups or strangers. So I think that's pretty cool. So we have a group of kids living at the Waitrose Supercentre. It's a huge supermarket on the east side of London, and you kind of get off the bat that there are a range of kids. There's little kids, and then there's older kids up to 15, 16. And the leader of this group of kids is Aaron, and his second in command is Maxie. So basically, even though they're living in a supercenter, they're running out of food. It's been a while. I gathered the fact that it's been a while since this disease broke out. And so we've got a group of kids that are going off on to get food, and we have a group of kids defending their territory at the supercenter. We also know that there are other groups of kids at other supercenters kind of around town. I think they mentioned that the kids kind of gravitated towards where their parents used to shop. So you kind of have congregates of kids all over London. So it's not, they know there are other people, they know there are other kids, but they stay within their little group. So this book is written third-person omniscient, and I really enjoyed it. It's been a while since I've read a third-person omniscient book.
I guess the fifth wave and like Game of Thrones, I don't know what those are classified as because you switch perspectives, but it's like section by section. So with Game of Thrones, you have the name at the top of the chapter. Like, I know that this is Tyrion's chapter, and I know that the next chapter is going to be the blind girl or Sansa or someone like that. And with the fifth wave, we get sections where it changes, so you don't necessarily know who it is until you get into the chapter, but it never switches within the section.
With The Enemy, it switches kind of almost mid-sentence, not really mid-sentence, but mid-paragraph, and you'll be talking, one character will be talking to another character, and then all of a sudden you're getting the feelings of that character, and then you're switching over here, and sometimes it'll stay with one for a really long time. I thought it was really great. I thought it was a great writing style. I really enjoyed it. I loved not only knowing what the characters I like were thinking, but other characters that I didn't really care about. I kind of like, you get to know them more. You kind of get more interested and more invested in them. One of the big things that happens in this book is Aaron, who is the leader, is out with a scout troop to try and get food. And they go into the gym or the community center, the pool, and there's a vending machine like sunk down in this stagnant, like, gross water right in the middle. But as far as they can tell, there's food still in the vending machine. So half of them are like, yeah, we gotta go, like, no one's here. They're calling out, trying to get the grown-ups to come out. No one's there. So one of the kids decides to go into the vending machine. While he's in there, from the murky water come these heads of grown-ups popping up and, grabbing him, and the whole company, there's like 5 of them, they're like freaking out, and one of the guys ends up dying. And this is like a big deal because they never really saw grown-ups collaborate before. That they always noticed that grown-ups kind of just went after whoever was weakest. They didn't really ever see anyone set a trap or make a plan or have a leader or anything like that. So this is big news. This is bad. Meanwhile, they're getting attacked back at the base, and the grown-ups steal one of the characters, and we assume he steals Sam, and we assume that he is getting, you know, he's dead, he's gone, he's been eaten. We don't know officially because we never saw them eat him, but we pretty much assume he's dead. That happens at the very beginning of the book. So when Aaron gets back, everything's kind of up and crazy. This kid with the patchwork jacket comes running in, and he's like, I came to find you. And his name is Jester, and he's kind of crazy. Like, we don't really know if we trust him or not. He seems a little insane. And Aaron's basically like, what are you talking about? Like, how did you know we were here? And Jester's like, I didn't, but I came to find kids. We're holed up, there's a whole bunch of us, like 50 of us, at Buckingham Palace, and we need you to come and save us. So the troop I liked this part because it showed like the diplomatic in the kid, like I love it. I love that zombie movies and zombie shows and zombie books, like they aren't just about the gore. Like,
I can't watch The Walking Dead. I can't read that because it's too gory. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't want to read about an apocalyptic world. We already live in a bad world. I want to read about it.
I love it because it really speaks to humanity, I think. There are so many themes that apocalyptic situations and zombie situations cover that I love it. And I loved this part when they were trying to decide whether to go to Buckingham Palace or not, to trust this crazy guy with a patchwork jacket and go to Buckingham Palace in the thoughts that it is safe. And meanwhile, we're getting some of Sam's chapters, who was the little boy that got captured. So he's not dead. So that was great. I thought that was a great move. We see him get captured at the beginning, kind of revisit him in the middle of the story. So there's a bunch of them, they're on the move, and they're going to Buckingham Palace, and they're moving slower than they thought. They come across a group of grown-ups who seem to have a leader at this point, which is weird. And so Aaron gets shot, and with an arrow, and he doesn't get shot by a grown-up, he gets shot by another kid. And Maxie, who's the second in command, is like in love with Aaron, and they have a thing going on, so she's devastated, and they have to stop, they have to, you know, let him almost recover, and he's already been bitten, so he's kind of losing his mind anyways. He's kind of going, we don't know what happens. They never explain if you get bitten, if that infects you, or if just normal infection would kill you or anything like that. He doesn't really explain that, but Aaron ends up dying, so their leader is dead in the middle of this crazy, you know, adventure. They gotta push on, you know, the Arrow kids didn't know, she didn't do it on purpose, and so they join the group and they go through, and then they end up cutting through a park, and they go, oh, this is where the zoo was, and this little girl is like, what did they do with all the animals? She's like really concerned about the animals, which I think is adorable, but they end up getting attacked by monkeys, which, that was so cool. I didn't know what was happening. I kind of had an idea because they mentioned the zoo, but I didn't realize that because the dogs weren't infected. The dogs were not infected. And as far as I know, I don't think cats were infected either. But monkeys, they got infected. They got infected by the same disease. They saw the monkeys, they had boils here, and they were attacking the kids. And I thought, oh, that was great. That was so great. I thought that was really good. I mean, it was scary. My heart was racing during that scene because the monkeys kept taking kids, like the little kids, and then they would go, the older kids would go and bring them back, and a lot of people died. It was really sad. I really liked this part. I thought it was really nerve-wracking. So they get to the palace and they meet this guy, David, and he is crazy. He's almost, I think he is 16. He's almost 17. So everyone's really kind of cautious around him because they don't know what happens when you turn 16. Do you, start to go crazy and get boils? I kind of want to see what's going on in his mind. I would be very interested to see if he's getting the disease or not. So that's something for future books that I think it was a good idea to keep him out of the point of view, but I'm really interested to see if he becomes a point of view in the next book. No, at the very end though, it's kind of a cliffhanger. So Ollie, who I talked about with the slingshots, and we thought he was a traitor, but he wasn't. We get his perspective at the end, and he's like, I've been keeping track of time, and it's almost midnight, and it's almost my 16th birthday. So, like, what? Like, we know for a fact now that he's gonna turn 16, so I hope we get his perspective on this disease. I want to see if he starts going crazy. I'm really, really into it. I'm really curious about what's gonna happen. So, there's that.
Oh, I forgot about Sam!
I can't believe this is such a long description. Like, I can't believe so much happened in this one book.
Every other chapter or so, not every other, every 3 chapters or so, we are getting Sam's perspective. And Sam, we heard from at the beginning of the book, he gets captured by the grown-ups. We don't know if he's died or not, and we don't know what's going on. But he ends up in the soccer stadium, and there are grown-ups like sleeping all around him, and he's in this sack, and he sneaks out of the stadium, and then he has a lighter, so he like lights this guy's beard on fire, and it ends up, the whole stadium like ends up going up in flames, and he's escaping, and he's referring to himself, I think he's like 12 or 10, and he's referring to himself as Samwise Gamgee, Samwise the Brave, which I thought was really adorable. I thought that was a really cute little reference there to like keep him brave and keep him, on his toes. So he escapes, and then he ends up in the subway tunnels because he thinks that'll be safer. And he ends up getting caught by Rachel and Nick, I think are their names. And these are 2 adults, and they are not sick. They feed him, and he's like super excited. They're gonna feed him and let him go to take him to Buckingham Palace, and then he finds himself trapped in a train car with 3 other kids. But basically, there's a lot of allusions to cannibalism. Like, these people are capturing kids and eating them for meat, which is disgusting. And in zombie apocalypse scenarios, it's bound to happen, I guess. People get really desperate and really insane. This kid comes at the window and is like, I'm gonna save you, and he gets Sam and Rebecca out, and they are moving really quietly. They're trying to get to the end of the train, and Nick ends up seeing them and chasing them out of the station. And so Sam and the kid get out in the daylight, and Nick is like, has a shotgun, and he's coming, and he has a knife, and he knocks the kid out. And Sam is trying really hard, but the guy is lifting him up by his neck, and all of a sudden the sun comes out. Or maybe the sun has been out, but all of a sudden Nick starts to get the boils on his face, like very severely. Here's my thought on this one, is there's a hole in the ozone layer or something with the atmosphere that's wrong. Either pollution or radiation. And the radiation, what makes me think of that is UV radiation or gamma radiation, or something happened with the ozone where the levels of radiation that you absorb into your body once you turn 16, it's been long enough for you to start feeling the effects. So here's my thought. I think the older you are, the worse you get. And I think you kind of start going crazy when you're 16. And that's what the sickness is. And that's kind of my theory. I don't know. Don't spoil it. I'm really excited to read the next one. I didn't realize how much I enjoyed these books until I did this review. I gave them, I think, 3 stars on Goodreads, but I think I might bump it up to 4. I really enjoyed this book. I really did. So, yeah, that's that. And that's my theories and my review, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I will do a review on The Dead as soon as I finish it. So,